I'm Musty Hobbit, and there's nothing that a hobbit loves more than another episode of Second Breakfast, so welcome back. I'm taking a different approach with my episode today. I wanted to pose a question to myself, which I will then pose to you, especially those of you who identify yourself as video game collectors. And I'm curious just in general what it is that makes you a collector. What is it that is appealing about collecting to you? First off, I want to talk about my past weekend. For Mother's Day, I had bought my wife tickets to see Billy Elliot. It was playing at Theater Cedar Rapids. We went and saw it. It was a fantastic performance. I actually went in blind to that, meaning I had no idea what the story was about. The only thing I knew about it was that there was an association to Elton John, since Elton John wrote all the music and the play itself, as I understand. But performance was wonderful. The cast was great. It's getting rave reviews. If you are in the area, Cedar Rapids, Iowa is playing the next 2 weekends. I would highly recommend it. Tickets are very affordable, and it is well worth the watch if there are still tickets available. I did finish Wolfenstein, The New Order, which was on the Xbox One, also released on, I think, PS3 and PS4. Highly recommend it. Have to suggest that you play that, and the sequel's coming in October, so definitely should give that a try. And if you at all like first-person shooters, the story on it's incredible, though. I really liked the story. I like the characters. I will talk more about that at length at another time, but highly recommend, go play it. I also started Uncharted. So my first game on my PS3, which I mentioned last week, is Uncharted. I have gotten a little ways into it, liked it enough to go and grab the rest of the series, so I have 2 and 3 lined up. I don't think I'll go right into 2 and 3. I think I would like to balance that out with some other game types, but definitely looking forward to playing that. It's holding up so far for a 10-year-old game. 2007 had a lot of great titles and an entire library of PS3 that I have not touched, so starting to put a dent. Really small dent at this point, but I will continue to play those when I have the opportunity and I'm not balancing it between other games. Like the Cartridge Club Game of the Month for June was Final Fantasy IV. I am this close to finishing it, and I'm hoping to do that in the next couple of days because I'd like to put the close on that, and I'd like to actually listen to the podcast, which I haven't had a chance to do as of yet. So I plan on finishing that really soon and getting that podcast listened to. And you should go check it out as well. So let's jump into today's topic, or really the question that I asked myself, and it's, what is it about me, Musty Hobbit, that made me a collector? And I think that there may be something genetic to this. Perhaps it's just something that is ingrained as a young child, but I look back at my parents, my mother in particular. I look back at her parents, her mother in particular, and there's sort of a long line of wanting to amass collections. My mom had and to this day still has a pretty ornate cardinal collection. She likes statues, plates, all kinds of things that are cardinals, and that's always been her kind of thing. My grandmother, she used to live in New York, and they were on Broadway. She had always kept a ton of things, whether it was programs from all the places that she had visited and all the shows that they had done, to pictures and autographs and those sort of things. So the collector aspect is something that has been in my blood, so to say. Now, whether that is truly genetic and there's something chemical that's going on that encourages people like me to want to have things and to want to put things into collections, it's certainly a possibility. I'm not going to rule that out. I do think that there is something that is passed on. As a young child, I was kind of encouraged to find the type of things that I could collect, and I think I almost associate it just as much to going on vacation as anything else. We traveled a lot and found that souvenir stores are a lot easier to manage if you know what you're looking for. And if you are focused on one type of thing. My sister, in particular, as a kid, had quite a spoon collection, like the pewter spoons that, are yay tall. That was kind of her thing, and it was very easy to always know that you could get a souvenir at any major location that would fulfill that and would build that collection. For me, I bounced around a lot. I collected baseball cards, which pretty much any kid from the 70s, 80s, even early 90s was really, a lot of kids were really into baseball cards, and that was pretty much my one of my things. I also had a collection of hockey pucks. I'm not sure why it necessarily had to be hockey pucks and why it wasn't something else, but you would surprisingly find a lot of them pretty much anywhere you went. They had nice logos emblazoned on it. You could get ones that were for the different teams, right? So any major city, you were probably likely to have some sort of hockey fan base and could find a hockey puck somewhere. And that just sort of continued. Now, turning to look at video games, collecting video games for me was never a thing until the last couple of years, and I will admit that I jumped in late in the game by people's standards. So there are people who have been doing this far longer. There have been people who have been doing this their whole life. I wasn't in a position that I was able to do that. Nothing that I have now have I owned prior to 2013, with the exception of a couple of Xbox 360 games and my current Xbox 360. Outside of those, everything has been reamassed or has been acquired through trades or purchases in some capacity. But there's something about, and part of the reason I got shifted to video games was that I wanted to be able to, I think it was the birth of my son that kind of kicked that off. I really wanted to, was looking at the current state of video games at the time, 2013, we were kind of in the Black Ops, Call of Duty phase, and that was really predominant at that point. I'm not saying that's everything that was out, but there was a lot of it, and it wasn't something that really that I wanted him to grow up in. I kind of saw what close relatives were playing, and I was just like, I don't want my son to be like that. I want my son to be able to play the games that I played, and that's kind of why I went down that path. That's why I said, okay, I'm going to get NES. I'm going to go after those games that I grew up with, that I knew would be age appropriate, that I knew would be fun, and I knew that I could enjoy with him, help him with, kind of get him through. So that's kind of what kickstarted that whole thing for me. But I think I'm just innately associated to collecting. I like putting things in groups. I like to organize things and display things. And part of what I've done with my room is I have little side collections. I have the Star Wars stuff up here, and I have the Legend of Zelda stuff, is up this way, and Final Fantasy things are on this shelf, and I've got my Final Fantasy VIII specifically called out on the wall here as well. Even over on this side, Cartridge Club. I keep all the club games on a shelf over here, even though they're from different games, different genres, different systems. I kind of keep them all together. I like to reorganize these things. There's something to be said about creating order from chaos, and so there have been stretches of time in my collecting over the past couple years where this room will get totally disheveled, and I put it back together, and once it's done, I feel this great accomplishment. And I think some people feel that way about collecting. You're looking to fill the gaps. You're looking to start and set a goal and push toward it, and it's an interesting thing to do and associate it to acquiring things. My wife, on the other hand, is a what I would say a minimalist. She wants less things. She wants to be able to not walk into a room and feel claustrophobic. And I have a fairly large room, but in previous iterations of this room and the way that I've had it configured, it's kind of felt that way. You kind of walked right into all of my game shelves, and it was a lot to kind of handle. And so having to walk through that to get to where the actual sitting area was something that she just didn't like to do as much. And so I've kind of shuffled now to where the sitting area is front and center. And then if you wanted to go back to the other part of the room, you can see the other things. So I think just to kind of wrap things up here, I think there's a few different things that can lead people to be collectors. I think there could be something that is sort of a genetic disposition to wanting to possess things and have things and display things. Some people almost use that as a performance art of their own, is how they display things on a shelf, and it gives them a great sense of accomplishment. There's also the possibility that it's just something that's handed down from your parents. And it could be that was just passed down to me at a young age, and so that's why I'm inclined to be as I am. I'm sure there's many other reasons, so I'm interested to hear from you. For those of you who consider yourself a collector in any capacity, I'm interested to hear what it is that motivates you to keep doing it. Is there a reason that you would decide to get out of doing it? And aside from that, if you have other comments about anything I've said here, or maybe you have another potential thing that would explain why it is the way that why we are the way we are, and let's talk about that. Leave comment below. Please like the video if you did, and subscribe if you're not already. Again, Second Breakfast comes out every Thursday, and I'll be coming up with more topics. There really hasn't been a lot of news lately. Post E3, you get kind of that lull, but there's plenty of things to talk about. There are tons of new games to play and things like that, so I'm sure I will be talking more about that in the near future. But I hope to see you again soon, and I do thank you for coming by. But I have been Musty. Take care of yourself. Be good to each other. Bye.